So let's make a start on the crochet jar cozy. What we're going to end up with is something a little like this, which is really simple. You've got a round base and then it comes up the sides. If you want to add stripes in, you absolutely can. There are 2 colours of yarn provided within the kit, so you can do that, and they're the same colours that I've got here. If you want to add your own in and make additional stripes, that's entirely up to you. But let's get started. So we're going to take the yarn and first of all create a slip knot. So to do that, I'm going to wind it around my fingers, poke it through, but create that little loop there. This is what's going to start us off. So I'm going to reduce the size of that so that my crochet hook fits through it, and then slide it up a little bit more so it's secure on there but isn't kind of so tight that I can't move the needle at all. From there, we're not going to use this piece. This is the tail, so we're going to keep that out of the way, and we're going to chain 6 stitches. So by chain stitch, we're going to loop it under and then through. So there's your first one, and then do the same again, loop it round and through, and then a third, 4, 5, and the last one is 6. And when we've done the last one, we are simply going to take that to that first one that we created and loop them through, and this is what's called a magic circle. So I'm just going to scoot that back through, so I've got 1 loop on my hook, and as you can see, I've got a little circle there. I've opened it up a bit so you can see the circle, but I can just trim that back in to where it needs to be. Now we're going to chain another 2 stitches up, because every time we come round we need to create a new row, because what we're creating is the base of the jar cozy, and it will look like this once we've got a few more turns on it. This here is my magic circle. That's right in the center, and this is where we're going to start. So from here, I've already got one on there, so I'll just chain another stitch, and then I'm going to go into the center. If I just pull it out a little bit so you can see, so into the center of that circle I've made, this tail that we created earlier, I'm actually just going to kind of let that follow the circle round and catch that in with my crochet, so it's extra secure and definitely isn't going to come undone. So we're going to go through the middle. We're now doing double crochet, and by double crochet that means that's English double crochet, which means through once, over the top, and then back out. And that loop there was just that little tail that needed pulling through. So we're going to do 12 of these stitches all the way around. So there's the first one. I'm going to do it again, and then you just continue this all the way around, and I'm going quite slowly so you can catch what I'm doing, because that double crochet is the same stitch we're going to use all the way around on this. So you're going to go into the circle, pull it through, loop it back over, and then drop those 2 stitches off, and keep going all the way around until you've got 12 on there. And once you get the hang of it, you will pick up speed. I'm just taking it at a nice steady pace at the minute so you can see exactly what I'm doing, and you can follow my hands. So let me see how many I've got there at the minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need another 6. As you work it round, if you need to shuffle your stitches around, because you can see I'm about halfway around there, so I've got that bottom half done, I've still got the top half to do. If you need to just shuffle them around a bit so you can get them all in, that's absolutely fine. Just take your time, get this first row correct, because this is your foundation for everything else. So we're going back in, through, I'm going to put the last 6 stitches on here. Now that tail is kind of caught in the rest of it, I can trim that away, and you can see I've got absolutely no tails, no raw edges now. And then through, that was number 7. Let's pop this on the other side, because it's the way, because I'm right-handed, I'm better off with my yarn on the left-hand side, because it's my right hand that's doing the work. And then I think that's 10 we're up to. I'll just shuffle them around a little bit. So if you need to count them, then there's your first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I've got 3 more to do. So 10 and 11 and then last one is 12. So because I've got one here, I can use this loop that's on there to just push it back through there and create my 12th. So pop that through and slide both of those off, and that will create my 12th. So there is my little magic circle. From here, see, that's the one that's in the center there. I'll show you this side because this side is kind of the right side up, if you know what I mean. That's that bit right in the middle there. That's what we've created. Now we're going to start on the next rotation round. And to do this, what we need to do is increase every other stitch. So what you will do is your first one, we need to do 2 chain stitches, and this will happen at every time you start a new row. When you're going round and round, you add 2 chain stitches, and what that does is it takes it to the same height as that next row we're going to create. You can see that's the row where it increases every time, because it looks ever so slightly different because you've got those 2 chain stitches taking your yarn height up to that next row you're going to start. So we're currently here. So once we've got the 2 chain stitches, we're going to go into this first stitch, and if I just show you there, it's like a little V shape. It's like a little V shape that loops underneath that next stitch that's coming in there. So you can see it's like 2 bits of yarn there. We're going to go underneath both of those and just do a normal chain stitch, double crochet the same way as we have done. And then in the next loop along, so that's this one here, we're going to do the same again. First of all, just a double crochet stitch, and then we're going to do another double crochet stitch, but instead of moving along to the next hole, which is here, we're going to go back into that same one, and that will start our circle to increase in diameter, and that will keep it nice and flat like the one that I've got here. If you don't add enough stitches in as you go round, what will happen is it will start to kind of curve in on itself, and we don't want that. We want it nice and flat for the bottom of the jar. So we're going to gradually increase. So in your first row, so I'll do one more just so you can see. So every other stitch, so this stitch is just a normal one, just a single into there, and then the next stitch, this one here, I'm going to go 2 into that one. And on your first row, you'll do every other stitch. So you'll do 1 as a double and then 1 as a single. In your second circle, your second row round, you will do every third stitch. So in this row here, this is our first row. This has got 1 normal, 1 double, 1 normal, 1 double. Our third row, which is this one here, you get 2 normal, 1 double, 2 normal, 1 double, and every time you move out a row, you add an extra normal stitch before you double up, and that's what gives you that nice even expansion. And it also, can you see it's ever so slightly hexagonal? That's because it's every you've started with 12 and it's every other stitch, or it's a multiple of 6 basically, by how it multiplies out. So you need to keep adding those layers and going out and out and out until you get the size of the base of your jar. So I've got a jar here, and it needs to be just a tiny bit smaller. If I just tilt that up a little bit, you might be able to see straight down the middle, and you can see it's just a tiny bit smaller than the actual width of the jar, but it's just about the same size as the base, because obviously that curves in ever so slightly, and you'll see if I put it like that, it's about the same width as the base, but you want it to be nice and tight. If you make it too wide, your jar will just slide in and out of it. Anything that's kind of knitted or crochet will have a natural stretch to it anyway, just the way the yarn has worked. So if you keep that to just a fraction smaller, and your jar, that will fit absolutely perfectly. So once we've got all of the way around, we need to start to build the sides up. And if you have a look at this one here, you can see that that's how we've kind of started to build the sides up. We've gone from the base, still the same piece of yarn, and just worked our way up the sides. And it's exactly the same stitch as is on the base there. You can see almost those kind of little cross shapes coming in there. Exactly the same stitch. So to move from being flat to kind of working up over, I will show you how you do that. So this is our outer side with the crosses on, and then the inside is this one here that's got a bit more of a textured look to it. So we want to start from this side, and we want to go through just the outer layer, because you can see on your V's there, let me just put my hook back into this one. So can you see we've got, as we explained earlier, little V's almost, as you can see the chain of the stitches coming round. Instead of going through both, I'm just going to take that outer one and double chain. And now this time I don't want to be increasing any more stitches, so there's no more doubling up every, you know, third or fourth or fifth stitch anymore. We're literally just trying to bring this straight up, and you'll immediately see a little bit of a change in it and how it starts to kind of curl up as soon as you start this. You're just going through that one layer. Once you've got all the way around this layer, you're going to go back to doing what you were doing and go through both. But there's, again, no need to increase stitches anymore, because we want this to now grow straight up rather than growing out or grow, you know, getting any larger. We want it to go straight up so it kind of grips those jars as soon as we've got them in. You can make this for any size jar you like, and you can quite simply increase or decrease. I would definitely start with straight jars, because they are the easiest ones to get a good fit with, because it's straight up and down. This one is a reasonably small jar, but you can go for much, much bigger ones if you want to. Or maybe if you've got an old vase that maybe it doesn't match your decor anymore and you want to change it up, absolutely, you can crochet a cozy for that as well. So we're going to keep going round on this, and then what I will do is I will show you how I have added and changed the colours on it as well, because at the minute we've done everything with one single colour of yarn. I'll just do a couple more layers on this so you can see that starting. You see it starting to kind of take shape and starting to lift its way up. You see it there on the side? It's just starting to kind of change its shape and start to move upwards. And because you're working round and round, you won't have to stop and start every time you kind of get to the end of a row. What you'll find is you will just continually spiral up and up and up, and it will create a nice even look to it. So for this one, we are going to look at changing the colour. So as you can see on the inside of here, I've changed colours a couple of times on this just to be able to get those stripes in. And all I've done is taken the new piece of yarn, tied it together at the point that I want to start. Now you can, if you want to, leave them and kind of span them across. I think it's actually much neater if you don't, but I've left tails on these. And the reason I've left tails on these is if you've got a yarn needle, it's worth leaving these a little bit longer and actually just looping them underneath some of these stitches to give you a much better, more secure join on them. Because if you don't, and then accidentally you pull something, you don't want it to start unraveling. So what we'll do is we'll grab that darker colour yarn. Here's the beginning. See, should have found the beginning first. There we go. And to swap it over, let me just grab my needle from this one. We are going to go through the loop and just pull that tight. We're going to add our next one. So to add the next one, we would do as if we were going to do a normal crochet stitch. So both layers, and then add the new yarn in. Let's put this onto the left because it's easier for me. And then through both of them. So back through there, and then back through your original stitch, and then tighten your old yarn up. And then I'm going to leave that stitch large just for a second, and then that will give me the opportunity to take the raw edge, the loose edge, and tie that off. So I would tie it off nice and tight there, and then trim both those away, push them onto the inside, and then you can just keep going with your new yarn. Leave those nice and long. We'll come back to them, and then you will tie those off, and then just stitch them in to your just some of your extra stitches, because these are quite dense stitches. Double crochet is quite a dense stitch, so it leaves you quite enough, quite a lot that you can actually stitch into the back and you'll not see, because it's effectively a kind of almost a double layer. Oh, I've just split my yarn a little bit there. There we go. And then over and then back through. And this, if I just do a few stitches on this, then you'll be able to see that colour change coming through. And you can add as many or as few of these stripes as you wish. I've just put a couple in here, adding a third on the top. And then once you've got as far as you want, because obviously the height, and there's no real fixed pattern to this, because obviously the diameter of the base depends on the size of your jar, and the height to which you go will also depend on the size of your jar. So once you've got as high as you want to go, and maybe you want to finish it off and tie it off, all you need to do is take your loose end. So take the loose end of your yarn, and instead of completing the whole stitch, take it through, loop that yarn through, take it through your stitch, and then pull it tight. And then that will finish it off for you. And then all you'll need to do, exactly the same way as you've done with your other stripes, is just take that piece of yarn and then with a yarn needle just thread it back through some of those so it's tied off nice and tight, because at the minute that's just a single knot, and if it was pulled and manhandled too much, it does stand a chance of coming undone. So then once you've got everything together, you'll pop your jar in. You'll notice there's quite a lot of stretch, there's quite a lot of movement in these, so you will be able to kind of move it around to exactly what you want, and then it's just up to you what goes in it.